Hey, welcome back to Mill. My name is Bill. This is Pirate Solutions Forestry, and we're on to the shed build part, or the shed cutting order part 2. I just got back from Napa, so after I got done cutting the 2x6s, right, the 2x6s? No, 2x8s, sorry. After I got done cutting the 2x8s, I let Danny in the truck. I went to start my truck. The truck wouldn't start. It's the second time that's happened to me. So I ran a Napa to replace my battery. It was a 2001, so it's only 3 years old. That kind of sucks. Of course, just out of warranty. Um, and back we ran. Danny's laying over there in the dirt, and we're gonna cut the 4x4s now. Little bit of a rant. So on my trip, which took me about an hour total, my battery cost me $213.61 for my F-150. So you believe me? Let's try and get it to come on focus. Focus. $213.61 for my F-150. And then I had to get gas. I put $60 in fuel in. So basically $291.61 to run to Falmouth, grab a battery, and come back. That almost eats up this whole shed order. So this whole shed order estimated is $330. That's based on the dimensions coming out the way that he asked for, not what they're going to be overcut at. So it'll be a little bit more than 330, probably closer to 350. But that trip to Falmouth to get a battery and fuel up my truck cost me this entire order. So basically, an afternoon of work for nothing. Well, I mean, I got a new battery and I got some fuel in my truck. So I'm sure that if I went on eBay or something like that and had to order that battery off of eBay or something, went to AutoZone and got a cheaper one, I probably could have gotten a cheaper one. But um, if you're a single mom in this world today, you don't have a sawmill, dog, F-150, bobcat, single mom out there humping back and forth to maybe, I don't know, maybe you work in an insurance office, or you're a school teacher or whatever. To be honest with you guys, I don't know how you make it in this world. I really don't. Um, I don't know how a single mom could make the numbers work. Now, I went through the numbers the other day, just basing it on something nominal like a $45,000 salary. Let's say you work in an insurance office as a secretary, or I don't know, you work on a landscape crew or something other than a big, fat professional job, but you're just a single mom. Shit didn't work out between you and the old man, or a single dad. But, I use single moms because I think that, if somebody asks me where I stand politically, I'll tell you. Where I stand politically is I stand politically behind single moms. I'm always going to have the ability to make it in this world. I always have. I've always had, made decent money. Always been able to. I've always been the best at whatever I've done. No matter where I worked, I was the best there. I could get a job working for somebody else tomorrow. I could name my price. But single moms are locked into the environment. So, they're stuck, so to speak. They're out there trudging back and forth to work, got to put fuel in their car, they got to pay insurance, they got to pay for a cell phone, they got to pay for cable, they got to pay for electricity, they got to pay for heat, they got to pay for AC. They got to pay for childcare. They got to pay for all this stuff. And if you sit down and you just do, a little spreadsheet right here. I don't know where you live, but where I live, an apartment or something to that effect is going to cost you at the bare minimum 13 to 1500 a month at the bare minimum. You put those numbers all down on paper, you try to make them work. It just doesn't happen. Can't happen. And it can't happen not because the government won't give you everything, because that solves nothing. The government giving you everything solves nothing in your situation. All it does is it makes you a slave to the system. Um, your ability to go out there and earn more. When I was a little younger here in my area, when I first got married and we had our first child, he's actually sitting up there playing Call of Duty right now at 35. Um, we rented a house not too far from where I live right now. Where I live right now is, I'll just be honest, it's a pretty expensive area. My friend across the street built this house, just got assessed at 1.4. So it's a pretty expensive area, pretty sought after, expensive area on the water. But when I was younger, and it wasn't all that long ago, we rented a house not too far from here. Matter of fact, in Katuitt, where this shed, the Chip that's buying the shed wood from me lives, he's in Katuitt. And we rented from the people named the Churches. That was their last name. It's right down by South Cape Beach. And we paid $450 a month for it. And back then, I was making more than that a week. Even back then, we're talking about early 90s. I was young, 20, 21, but I was making more than our rent a week. My wife was also working, wife back then, my ex-wife, but she was working locally. Both our families were kind of doing fine, so we didn't have to worry about a whole lot of shit. But it was $450 a month for our place in Katuitt that we rented from the Churches on Main Street, the end of Main Street down by, I believe that's South Cape Beach, but if you drive down Main Street in Katuitt, it comes to a dead end, and we lived right there on the right, and the beach was on the left. Those days are over, boys and girls. Those days are gone. And they're not gone because of Trump, who was in office for, you can call it 4 years, but let's just say 2.5 years. By the time that you get in and you get inaugurated and you figure out what's going on and your advisors come and sit down with you and say what's up, and then on the way out on the other side, you basically got 2.5 years. No matter what the administration is, you basically have 2.5 years in the middle. So you can say, well, you had 4 years to do this. They don't really have 4 years. They really don't. It just doesn't work that way. Just like whoever gets elected this year isn't going to have 4 years. They don't get inaugurated until the middle of January. And then on the backside of that, they're on their way out in their lame duck stage in that final 4, 5, 6 months. So 2.5 years-ish, Donald Trump didn't ruin this country. This country has been ruined over generations. And if you want to blame somebody, what you need to do is you need to sit down and I won't pick a side. All I'm going to do is I'm going to say you do your own work. Okay, I've done my work. I know where I stand, but you do your own work. You sit down and you look at who has been making the laws for the longest amount of time. They're the ones that have set policy. So look at the tenure, okay? So who's been making laws for the longest amount of time? You blame those people. Those are the people that have made it the way it is over over a generation, 2 generations, as I go back. I was born in '68, and of course, first 10 years of your life, you're 10 years old. So '78, I was 10. Um, but you need to go back 40, 50 years. There are people in Congress still that were in Congress then. Look at those people. Those are the ones that have shaped policy and society to this day. And again, I'm not going to pick a side. I'm just going to tell you, you go do your own research. You look at the longest tenured people, those are the people you should blame for $300 for me to drive out of this driveway, drive 10 miles to pick up a battery for my F-150, put some fuel in it and come back. All right, $300. Back when I was a kid, almost a month's rent for that. Now, forget about it. 1,500, 2,000, 3,000. If you want extra bedrooms, you want 3 bedrooms around here. 2,500, 2,900 minimum. 3,000. I have a friend who she just had surgery. She's a bartender. She has a boyfriend, not even a husband. She just had a baby. They were renting a house up the street from me for a while because their landlord figured he could go up on his rent, so he basically kicked them out. That he was going to do the Airbnb thing, and he kicked them out. So they had to find a place emergency style, and they just happened to be a place near me that they could rent. It was $3,000 a month. She's a bartender. I don't know what he does. Full disclosure, it's a manual labor job. I just don't know what it is. But how did they make it? Then they had a baby. Now she just had back surgery. She's not bartending anymore. The only way that they can make it is to go in the system, and get the handouts. It's the only way they can make it. When I was a kid, almost no one was on the system. Everybody went out and you just did shit. You baled hay in the summer. Um, you made $500 a week working on a landscaping crew or on a construction crew or whatever. That wasn't uncommon to be able to, as a kid, make $500 a week. Now, wages haven't gone up a whole lot because these companies out there stretch themselves out so bad they can't afford really. It'll look for Danny. Make sure, yeah, he's still there. Look for, pay out a shit pile of money unless they're on the upper end. I have friends too that make, $1 million, $2 million a year, and they're not all that different than me. These people, they have a different education. They do different shit. One of them is in tech, and he makes millions a year. He does super, super well for himself. Lives down in, just got kicked out of Jekyll Island. So he lives down like in St. Mary's, Georgia, has a big boat, goes out fishing all the time, blah, 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 blah. There are those people out there. I have friends that have been bartending for 20, 30 years who have done incredibly well for themselves. Where all my friends, if you ever got in trouble and you needed some cash, you knew who to go to. You went to the bartender. My friend Glenda Lee Clay from Venice, Florida. Go see Glenda Lee if you need some money. You're broke and you're in trouble. You get pulled over for DUI, or your car gets impounded, or you're behind on your electric and you need a little bit of money. Go see Glenda Lee. If you're a friend of hers, she'll give it to you, because all she has to do is open the safe, pull out the envelope, hand you the money, and say, just pay me back, and you will, because you love her. But those aren't people in the system. The people in the system are tied in. They got nowhere to go. Absolutely hopeless, nowhere to go. The only way they can pay for their food, the only way they can pay their rent, the only way they can pay for their car, whatever it is to ask the government to give them more. That's it. And if you don't think that's a problem, if you think that's the way to go, that's the way to have a society, you're a fucking fool. And I mean that. And I don't, again, I have not set aside of the aisle. Okay? I don't care what you believe in or who you love or who you sleep with or how you look or what you want to call yourself. I don't care about any of that. I really don't. But what I do know is policy wise, the people that have been making policy for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they've put us here. They've put us here. They're the ones that have trapped millions of Americans into being in the system and not even being able to take care of themselves. And if you don't think that having somebody else pay your bills breeds laziness, you're fucking nuts. Absolutely fucking nuts. It absolutely does. You don't, when, you know, this is God's honest truth. I swear on my mother. We had a situation one time with my first wife where we had a decision to make about taking a job versus staying home and taking care of our two kids at the time. We were living in Florida, in Sarasota, and we were paying something like, let's just round number, $250 a week in daycare. And at the time, it was probably me. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think it was, but I think it was her. I think she was leaving Sarasota Pathology for some reason. And we had a decision to make whether she was going to take a job or stay home with the kids. And we had to do the numbers out. You know, sit down and say, okay, well, it's cheaper for you to stay home with the kids than take the job. And I don't remember how it played out at the time. But I mean, I'll be honest. I don't believe that in my lifetime, and I said this to my wife recently and she doesn't believe me, but I don't believe in my lifetime that I've ever had a job where I made less than $450 a week. Ever in entire from the time that I was a child. But that's a real thing. You got to sit down and you got to say, well, if I take this job and I commute back and forth and I pay my child care, I end up at zero. So I might as well stay home with my kids and ask the government for money. That's a real thing, guys. You know, I don't know why it's not talked about enough. It's a real thing. And these people become slaves to the system. So, long enough rant. I got to cut some 4x4s out of this beam. I ended up pulling one of my lumber bunks. Oh, there's Danny laying under the truck. One of my lumber bunks out of there. I put it over here so that we can stack lumber on it. I just threw all my 2x8s over there. I haven't stacked them yet, but they're all sitting on stickers for now. And then I had a few beams that I've previously cut. I did a video on them a long time ago. They weren't great logs, and I wanted to see if I could save some out of them. Those two got a little bit of rot in each end, but I had a 10x10 right here that's totally solid. And if you look at my bunks, it's hanging over an inch there and a half inch there. It's 8'1.5" on the bottom. It tapers up like this and on the other side a little bit. What I'm hoping is if I take my waste wood off the top of this, so this is going to be cut 2 inches off one side, 2 inches off the other side, and then basically quartered. If I take my narrow side, which is here and here, and I take 2 inches off the top, and I take 2 inches off this side, I end up with an 8x8 can, or we'll go a little more, maybe 8 1/8. that is basically 8 feet. For all intents and purposes, it's 8 feet. So it's going to be tight. He can obviously, if he has to make them 7-Eleven, he can make them 7-Eleven. They work at 7-Eleven. It's going to be tight at 8 feet. It's not going to affect his shed any. It might bring his top elevation down, a half inch or something like that. But I think this will work perfect for the 4x4s. And before I just go in the house and sit down and pour myself a drink and turn on the news and watch these videos back, I figured I'd try to get this knocked out. So we are going to make 4x4s out of this log that are going to be basically exactly 8 feet long, which is what he asked for. And we'll take it from there. And then all that's going to be left over is for us to cut 1x6s. We need 40 of them. I'll probably try to cut them all 1x10. 10 feet long. I'll probably pick a fairly decent sized 10-foot log and see if I can cut the whole batch out of it and just give them all 10-footers as opposed to trying to do 10s and 8s. But we'll see how it goes. But that's what we're going to cut right now with the Stellicut band that's been on here for well over 1,000 board feet now. We're getting into 1,200 board feet. Try to knock out the last tough section, and then it should just be basically one more big fat log, and this order will be done, and I can pay for my battery and my gas today. So let's get you guys, I'm going to pause you guys, and we'll get you set up, and we will go ahead and run this thing. All right, so I've got my long side on the bottom. So I'm going to cut off the top. I'm going to take it down to 8 1/8, which will allow me to cut 2 4x4s. And it's sitting on the bunks. It's straight. This timber has not moved at all since I cut it, which is indicative of pine. It's sitting on all 3 bunks, perfect. I'm just going to take the top to 8 1/8. We're going to measure, find out our shortest side, which I think is this side. We're going to flip it up, take it off to 8 1/8, and then just quarter the thing. I am not going to take into consideration on this specific one because I'm kind of on borrowed time here today, any bonus wood. So should I take this down in 1-inch increments? There's nothing 2-inch on the timber frame order. If I take it down in 2 inches, I can always cut this into 2x4s for my shed build. So that's, I think, what we're going to do. So this can't slip over my stop. I'm going to pull it back before I get too far into here. Oh. Okay, now we'll complete it. get our 2-inch chunk off here. That'll end up being 2x4s for my shed. This is nice and dry. And so that side over there sticks out that way. And it kind of sticks out that way. So this side's the more narrow side. We're going to flip this side up and do the same thing and then quarter it. I could just right now, I'll ruin my 2x4s if I do that. Oh, I ran out of fuel. Let me just pause you guys quick. I just ran out of gas. All right, well, I just completely wiped this job out because now I have to go buy 5 gallons of fuel. High test, $4 a gallon, another 20 bucks. So basically this job nets me zero at this point. I flipped it up. I'm going to cut it off at 8 1/8. I brushed off some of the dirt, and then we'll drop down and cut it in half at 4, and we'll flip it on its side and cut it in half at 4, and we're done. And we'll raise up 3. We'll come back. We'll drop down and cut it in half at 4. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait till you see how clean this band is running what I'm running for solvent. This band is so clean. There's some 2x4s in these from my shed. We'll flip these on the side. We'll cut it in half at 4. This should be 8 1/8 just to see how I'm cutting here. Yep, perfect. Absolutely perfect. This mill is just operating perfectly. Now, if I can flip it this way, I'm going to give myself cleaner wood. So I'm just going to do that. So I'm cutting into here instead of the outside. That's just giving me a clean side facing out. And right now, oops, I am still way over the bunks. Still doing good on my 8 feet. And we're going to cut these right in half, and we got our 4 4x4s for his order. Come down to 4 inches on the button. And rip it right now. I will show you the corners. The band tracked perfectly the whole time. And we'll tear everything down, blow everything off, grease everything up, go dump these 4x4s with his order, and Bob is your uncle. So, oh, there's Danny. Danny's in the shade here. 1 second. There's Danny, laying in the shade of the Bobcat. So let me just zoom you in down the corners here just to show you how crisp and clean it's still cutting. I can't see through the viewfinder, but I can see the edge. It's beautiful. It cut that perfectly, nice and smooth both sides. Really have a hard time bashing these Stellicut bands. I don't want to bash them, but I mean, being honest, I want to give you my honest opinion. These Stellicut bands cut great. They really do. In pine, they cut awesome. So, let's see what you're looking at here. Me and Danny. Hi, Danny. That's pretty much it. I apologize for the rant. I hope I didn't get political, because I don't think I did. I didn't identify a side. What I just said was that, you can go do your own research. You look at the people that have been doing this the longest, and you will find your answers at why things are the way they are. I understand completely the want to take care of the impoverished. I do. I completely get that. We do our part. Do as much as we can for our community and our area, and donating time and services and ourselves to charity. But here's the thing. If you let the system work, that altruism comes through the wealthy. It doesn't come from the poor. If you go out and you look at cancer centers or hospitals or rehab facilities or libraries, universities, those things aren't built by poor people. Those things are built by rich people. Wealthy people have built this country. They have made it. They've given you cell phones. They've given you cable. They've given you roads, cars. You have to remember, less than 100 years ago, we were riding horses in New York City. Right around 100 years ago. We're still riding horses in New York City. We were still lighting with whale oil 120 years ago. We've come a long way. And that hasn't happened because you got to remember, the government doesn't make money. The government collects taxes. Wealthy people pay those taxes. The majority of the taxes that are paid in this country are paid by the wealthy. Almost all of it. The top 50% of the wealthy people pay all the taxes. The bottom 50% of the less wealthy people pay basically nothing. They get money back. They pay their taxes in, but they get it back. The top 50% pay basically all the taxes collected in this country. And they do all the charity work in this country. Poor people don't do the charity work. Rich people do. Rich people are building cancer centers. Is there ever going to be income equality? In other words, is anyone ever going to be lifted up by programs to be as wealthy as Elon Musk? No, that's never going to happen. Can the government take enough away from Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos to bring them back down to the mean? No, they can't. Leading through innovation and creation, a guy like Musk is supplying internet to places that don't have it. He's flying rocket ships. He has the #1 electric car company in the world. Um, Jeff Bezos makes sure that when you go on Prime and you order your package, that it shows up that afternoon with what you need. Those things are not done by poor people. I love it when I see, oh, well, Jeff Bezos is the way he is because of his workers. No, Jeff Bezos is the way he is because he created a business model and followed through with it that is like nothing that's ever existed on this planet. I mean, that's the plain simple fact of the matter. Elon Musk is the way he is because he's created a business model and business models and innovation like nothing else there is on this planet. That comes with its rewards. It does. I am never going to be anything more than this, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I will cut lumber and make $400 an hour one day, and today basically make a net zero. But I might make. Well, let's look. We got 84 and 66, so we got 141.50. Basically $150 for 1 hour's worth of work. And you guys get to see it on video, so you know how long it took me to do it. I'm not lying. It's exactly 150 board feet. I charge $1 a board foot. So I've made $150 an hour for today. I also turn around and spent that very quickly on a battery and on fuel. More than that. Yeah, I was looking at the 330 number at the bottom. I didn't cut this whole order. I have to cut this whole order to break even on my battery and fuel and this fuel for the mill. I'm nothing special. I really am not. I have knowledge from years and years and years of working in the trades and know how to do a little bit of everything. I can shoot level on a football stadium or a hospital on their footings. I can pour their concrete, install their beams. I could do their sheetrock. I can understand the plans. I can look at the drawings. I went to school for structural engineering and architecture. I can look at the drawings. I know how to put things in. I grew up in a machine shop. I know how to run a lathe. I can machine metal. I can machine wood. I can cut wood. I can sharpen bands. I can run a chainsaw. All these things are from years and years and years of working in the trades. And I'll never be anything more than that. But that's enough for me. That's enough for me. It provides enough between myself and my wife. We provide enough for our family to be able to live and have the things that we want. We don't want very much. We want firewood for the winter, and she drives a Subaru, and I drive a beat to shit F-150. I don't want a brand new truck because I don't want to spend $80,000 in one. I could, but I don't want to. But it's the people that don't have the opportunity that I've had from learning from the people that came before me that taught me the things that I know. There are a lot of people out there that don't have that opportunity. They just don't, for whatever happened to them in life. And you all know somebody like that. You all have friends like that, that are smart and funny and beautiful and are great people, but they've just been beat down by life, and they just didn't get the lucky breaks that some of your other friends did. And once they get into the system, it's all over. It's all over for them. They'll never come out. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad in here. I mean, really, I'm kind of a little bit. I'm choking back tears right now because it makes me sad that people have to go through that. But without innovation and creation and job creation and businesses and wealthy people, without the wealthy, we'd have nothing, guys. Nothing. You'd have nothing. You'd be a third world country, um, going down to the well, filling up water and dragging it back to the house. You'd have no plumbing. You'd have no cell phones. You'd have zero. Where we are is a miracle, and it's all been paid for by innovators, and those innovators have become wealthy. So if you think that the term wealthy is a bad term, I feel sorry for you. I really do, because they've created everything that we have. Poor people aren't create and sell companies. Poor people didn't start Starbucks, or Chipotle or Taco Bell. Poor people didn't do that. So, and if they did, they're wealthy now. Now they're building cancer centers and wings in the local college and blah, 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 blah. Um, Keep pushing. Stay free. Freedom is everything. Freedom is everything to me. I've given up a much, much more lucrative life to be free so that I can come out here when I want and do what I want and earn a basic living. I don't need to make much. This is a basic living working with this mill, but that's all I make is a very, very meager basic living, but I'm free doing it. I'm not in the system. I'm not begging people for money. I'm not waiting on that EBT card. And if you want to sit there and say, well, everybody's not like you and that's not the reality for everybody, sure. But I can tell you this, that without the wealthy, you have nothing. This country is nothing without the wealthy. It was started by wealthy people. It is run by wealthy people today. It will always be run by wealthy people. Wealthy people give you all the opportunity that you have. Without them, you have zero. So take that for what it's worth. Do your research. Look at the people that have been making laws the longest. Fucking blame them. For now, for me, Danny. Oh, he's laying by the bobcat again. Um, and this is as political as you'll ever hear me get. But for now, Pirate Solutions out.